Hello and welcome to another Tuesday evening lesson here on our YouTube channel. If you're new to the YouTube channel, um, there are 3 semesters of free lectures you can watch and discover what the wisdom of Kabbalah is. And if you've been with us for a while, then you know we're carrying on with the Shamati articles. If you're interested in the wisdom of Kabbalah, and also if you're new to the channel, you can always go to Kabbalah.info and join the KABU Academy and study with like-minded people. There's probably somebody near you. All right, so today we're going to carry on with the Shamati articles. I've got number 7 in front of me today. What is a habit becomes a second nature in the work. Obviously, the work, we're talking about the study of the wisdom of Kabbalah. If you have any questions, as usual, please forward them through. We'll try to answer them as best we can and find answers together from the article. It's a short article, but it's something, as with all Shamati articles, that we need to pay a lot of attention to so we can realize it. What is a habit becomes a second nature in the work. Shamati number 7. By accustoming oneself to something, that thing becomes a second nature for that person. Hence, there is nothing that one cannot feel its reality. This means that although one has no sensation of the thing, he still comes to feel it by becoming used to that thing. We must know that there is a difference between the creator and the creatures regarding sensations. In the creatures, there is the feeler and the felt, the attainment and the attained. This means that we have a feeler who is connected to some reality. However, a reality without a feeler is only the creator himself. In him, there is no thought or perception whatsoever. This is not so with a person. This whole existence is only through the sensation of reality. Even the validity of reality is evaluated as valid only with regard to the one who senses the reality. In other words, what the feeler tastes is what he considers truth. If one tastes a bitter taste in reality, meaning he feels bad in the situation he's in, and suffers because of that state, that person is considered wicked in the work, since he condemns the Creator, as he is called the good who does good, for he only bestows goodness to the world. Yet, with respect to that person's feeling, the person feels that he received the opposite from the Creator, meaning the situation he is in is bad. We should therefore understand what our sages wrote. The world was created either for the complete wicked or for the complete righteous. This means the following. Either one tastes and feels a good taste in the world, and then he justifies the Creator and says that the Creator gives only good to the world, or if one feels and tastes a bitter taste in the world, then one is wicked because he condemns the Creator. It turns out that everything is measured according to one's sensation. However, all these sensations have no relation to the Creator, as it is written in the poem of unification. As she, so you will always be. Shortage and surplus in you will not be. Hence all the worlds and all the changes are only with respect to the receivers as one attains them. All right, we'll go over it paragraph by paragraph. So we have to understand what a habit becomes a second nature means in the work. We go step by step. You can also ask questions and we'll see how things pan out. Okay, so we've got a question about the 3rd paragraph. So we'll get there and then we'll answer that question as well, okay? By accustoming oneself to something, that thing becomes a second nature for that person. Hence, there's nothing that one cannot feel its reality. This means that although one has no sensation of the thing, he still comes to feel it by becoming used to that thing. Okay, so how do we use that in our work? Well, According to Kabbalists, the creator is love and bestowal. And from those attributes and actions, the attribute of love and the act of bestowing should be felt inside of us. But if we're in our egoistic nature, the question is how we're going to get ourselves used to that. Because at the end of the day, we've learned previously from the perception of reality that I feel reality according to my traits, according to what I am, my internality. Everything that is me reflects on the outside. So I'm actually kind of seeing my traits kind of displayed to me in the events of life. So I need to accustom myself to looking at things from a different perspective. Even though I may not be in spirituality at this moment, I have to understand how I see the world and how I can get used to looking at the world from a different perspective. We've learned before that our nature is self-love. So the creator is love and the act is bestowal. And our nature is self-love and the act of that is taking, right? Receiving. Okay. So those are the two ways that the world functions. There is no other way. Okay. So that's it, give and take. By accustoming oneself to something, that thing becomes a second nature for that person. Hence, there is nothing that one cannot feel its reality. This means that although one has no sensation of the thing, he still comes to feel it by becoming used to that thing. We must know that there's a difference between the creator and the creatures regarding sensations. In the creatures, there is the feeler and the felt, the attaining and the attained. This means that we have a feeler who is connected to some reality. Okay, this is a principle that we've learned before. What do we always say in the wisdom of Kabbalah? There is no light without a vessel, right? So there needs to be a vessel that feels reality. It feels the light. Light is everything that we're feeling inside of us. It doesn't matter what we feel. Generally, it's actually also called pleasure. Okay. But at the end of the day, depending on our correction at the phase that we are in, the world isn't always felt as pleasure. More often it's felt as agony. But we have to understand that there is a vessel, which is the created being, that feels reality. However, a reality without a feeler is only the creator himself, okay, which means existence from absence. So the creator was always there in the first place, right? And if we do not feel the creator, we just feel the reality that we're in. It's called this reality, right? Where we're in our desire to receive for ourselves. So if anybody doesn't feel the creator, then it's just the creator's reality. We can't say there is a creator until we feel that there is a creator. If we were to say there is a creator, we can't really make any comment unless we feel the creator, how he is, what he is, how he's relating to me, what his actions are, and how I feel them. This is not so with a person. His whole existence is only through the sensation of reality. Even the validity of reality is evaluated as valid only with regard to the one who senses the reality. Also, we have to really get back into that mental framework of perceiving reality inside of ourselves when studying this article. Okay. So the validity of reality is evaluated as valid only with regard to the one who senses the reality. So I can only sense the reality I'm in. This doesn't mean I can't broaden my reality to perceive other things that I currently do not feel if I had additional, maybe a sensory organ. However, though, I am in a reality that I feel, and that's it. Now, Asli is asking a question. In the third paragraph, second sentence, is in him there is no thought or perception whatsoever. This sentence seems perplexing because we learned from introduction to the preface of the Wisdom of Kabbalah, there is thought of creation. If there's no thought in him, how come there is such a thing as thought of creation? Because the thought of creation is towards the created being. Okay? Not towards the creator thinking of himself. All right, does that make sense? Okay, this is why he doesn't have a perception of himself whatsoever. Because if I'm not thinking about myself, I won't feel myself. This is a good question as well. In the perception of reality, why are we so concerned about ourselves? Because our nature is constantly thinking about me, right? So I'm constantly thinking about myself. I feel me, my life, my reality. Everything is me, 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 right? So I can't get out of this reality if I'm constantly thinking about myself. And because I can't get out of myself, I have a very limited perception of reality. Okay. Now, if we have, let's say, a mother who really loves her baby and she's willing to do everything for the child, right? So slowly, as she's raising that child, the child is really important. She begins to forget about herself and she devotes herself completely to the baby. What does that bring to her? That brings her the feeling that she doesn't exist. The baby exists. Okay. Obviously, that's a worldly example, but we should take it as a note and keep it at the back of our minds that we need to completely exit self-thought and self-perception. In other words, that the feeler tastes, what the feeler tastes is what he considers truth. This is also very important in the wisdom of Kabbalah. The truth is what I am feeling. I cannot lie to myself. In religions, they feel bad and then they praise the creator. That is a complete contradiction in itself and an absolute, I don't know, I don't want to use a bad word for it, but it's like brown nosing. All right. So it's not really realistic. Okay. I'm kind of like pampering the creator. Despite the fact that I feel bad about my life, I'm like complimenting him, saying, oh, what a great life I have. I'm suffering, but you're awesome. Okay. So that is not realistic. A person has to define his reality according to exactly what he feels. Why? Because if I get exact into what I feel in this reality, I can measure or I can think about what needs to change to feel an opposite reality. This is why we must never lie to ourselves when we're going through states in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Okay, this is why it's very practical. We don't have to believe in anything. We don't have to act in contradiction to all these kinds of things that I'm going through. If I'm having a bad life, I can't say the creator is good. It's just like, it's just not realistic. Okay. If one tastes a bitter taste in reality, meaning he feels bad in the situation he's in and suffers because of that state, that person is considered wicked in the work since he condemns the creator as he's called the good that does good, for he only bestows goodness to the world. This is a beautiful sentence, and it's a great sentence for whoever feels reality like that. Okay. But if I don't feel reality like that, it's just, I can keep it at the back of my mind that some Kabbalist feels it that way. And that's where we should aim for and get to in the work. But I have to evaluate it from the current state I'm in. If I see bad things in the world, I understand that there's some bad in me. And who created me? The creator created me, right? According to the assumptions that we're following, so that we can direct ourselves according to the assumptions, like in science, right? According to the assumptions that the Kabbalists give us, we want to discover the truth. So then I can't really say the creator is good. And that's okay too, because that's currently what I'm feeling. Okay? Yet, with respect to the person's feeling, the person feels that he received the opposite from the Creator, meaning a situation he's in is bad. Okay. So despite the fact that Kabbalists say, hey, the Creator is great, he's really wonderful guy, I'm looking at the world and thinking, what are they on about? Am I seeing something wrong? My eyes not seeing well? Okay. We should therefore understand what our sages wrote. The world was created either for the complete wicked or for the complete righteous. Now, this is a level of perception. We see the world really bad because it was created for the bad. Okay. Receiving for myself in an egoistic way means I am completely evil, because egoism means I do not care about anybody. I think about me and only me. And even if I think about the well-being of somebody else, it is only for me and my self-benefit. So this world, yes, we can say it's true. It is created for the wicked. Okay? So how come it's created for the complete righteous as well? Because from this complete wicked, we have a potential to come to a complete correction and see the world through the Creator's eyes. Okay, so a complete wicked and a complete righteous. This is why we call this reality a stepping stone, right? Kind of like a stepping stone to a higher reality, higher perception. This means the following: either one tastes and feels a good taste in the world, and then he justifies the Creator and says that the Creator gives only good to the world, or if one feels and tastes a bitter taste in the world, then one is wicked because he condemns the Creator. Now, this is important to understand. Even if a Kabbalist is on the steps of correction, okay, if in a certain state he's still uncorrected, he will see that uncorrected state as the Creator doing bad. Mm-hmm. And according to the depth of that desire, the Creator is all bad, so he's all wicked. Okay, so think of it as a micro approach and the macro approach. All right, so we've got these steps on the way. It turns out that everything is measured according to one's sensation. So I can feel the Creator as good or bad depending on how much I've corrected myself. However, all these sensations have no relation to the Creator, as it's written in the poem of unification as she, so you will always be, shortage and surplus in you will not be, which means that the Creator is always in perfection. So all of the changes that are really happening in reality is not that the Creator is changing. It is only that I am changing. Okay. And only according to what I feel and how I'm changing, my reality changes. Hence, all the worlds and all the changes are only with respect to the receivers as one attains them. Okay. Very practical. So how does this title, what is a habit becomes a second nature in the work, relate to our perception of reality from a good and a bad point of view? First of all, we need to get used to seeing reality from two perspectives. If I am not corrected at all yet, I'm obviously seeing the world bad. But if we have a dot in the heart, a point in the heart, and we want to develop towards spirituality, we have an aspiration to see and perceive reality like the Creator. Okay? And that's the whole idea about having a dot in the heart. We can develop an extra sensory organ that will allow us to shift our perception to a higher level. So by first understanding that I'm completely wicked in my egoistic nature, I can understand, first of all, why I see reality as is. If I see all of my details, all of my traits as working in egoism, then from that egoistic point, I can actually work towards building something opposite. This is called the work in the group. And accordingly, I can now start to relate to people in a way which is non-egoistic according to how I feel egoism. Right? And that is the habit that we want to get into. Right? So I'm perceiving reality as bad. I see I'm bad. Okay. And now what I want to do is change my egoism into bestowal. So if in the group I'm constantly acting in order to bestow, then I'm going contra to my egoistic nature. And this should become a second habit for me. Okay. That way I'm now beginning to build for myself through habit two perspectives of reality. Okay. And this tension between the state that I'm in, my egoistic nature, and what I want to build should bring me to a prayer, because as I study and I work for it, I want to be good, but I see that however much I try to be good, I begin to see that it is impossible for me to change my nature. So this perspective is like an elastic band. All right. Well, I don't have one here, but you stretch it, you stretch it, stretch it. It comes to a point, boom, it'll have to snap. That snapping point is called a prayer. Okay. But these two perspectives I have to kind of keep in mind when I'm evaluating reality, what I am, and through what I see as what I am, trying to build what I understand and think the creator is. So from complete egoism to complete bestowal, I now have like a destination. And I can build the destination according to the oppositeness of egoism. This is why we perceive reality always through opposites. Through one sensation, I can depict what it could be like to be in another. This is why there's no light without darkness, no bitter without sweet. That's it. No questions. We all good? Well, all right. So looks like the light is working on. So they're definitely working on my forehead. All right, there we go. Okay. All right. Since we don't have any questions, this is fine. Next week we'll move on to another Shamati article, and we can just call it a lesson. And even if we've just studied for like 25 minutes, it's still worthwhile going over these lessons. Trying to fit in all these articles that the Kabbalists wrote for us into our work is very, very important. This is why we're always trying to build a habit of treating the friends well. You know, we want to be in a state of arvut all the time, right? Like mutual consideration. We want to relate to the friends like a loving person. We want to respect them, love them, care for them. So why are we doing all these actions in the group when we know we're egoists, right? Because we want to build a second nature through a habit, or at least want to become a second nature through habit. And all those actions that we do, all the studying, the practical actions in the group actually allow us to build a desire to bestow. And that will bring us to a prayer. All right, that's the conclusion of the lesson. I hope you guys found some benefit in it. Hopefully, we'll carry on next week. And as usual, on Tuesday evening, since we don't have any more questions, we'll call it a night. Have a good day, good night, depending where you are.